Welcome, thrill seekers, to a world of spine-chilling tales and hair-raising adventures. Gather around for a frightful journey into the unknown as we delve deep into the realm of scary stories. Buckle up, hold on tight, and get ready to experience a rush of terror like never before. When Jane's grandmother passed away, she inherited an old painting that had been in her family for generations. It was a portrait of a stern-looking man, her great-grandfather, who had been a wealthy businessman in his time. The painting had always hung in her grandmother's house, but Jane had never paid it much attention. She wasn't particularly interested in family history, and the painting didn't hold much appeal for her. But as soon as she brought it into her own home, strange things began to happen. Jane started to notice that the painting seemed to be watching her. Whenever she was in the room with it, she felt as though the man in the painting was staring at her, judging her. At first, she tried to dismiss it as her imagination. But then she began to hear strange noises in the middle of the night. It sounded like someone was moving around in her house, but when she got up to investigate, there was no one there. As the days passed, the noises became more frequent, and Jane started to feel as though she was being watched all the time. She even began to have nightmares about the man in the painting, dreams in which he spoke to her in a language she couldn't understand. One day, Jane came home from work to find that the painting had fallen off the wall. It was lying face down on the floor, and when she picked it up, she noticed something strange. The man in the painting had a look of pure hatred on his face, and his eyes seemed to be following her. As she stared at the painting, it suddenly began to move, its surface rippling like water. And then, something emerged from the painting. It was a hand, reaching out towards her, and when she looked closer, she realized that it was the hand of the man in the portrait. Jane was paralyzed with fear as the hand grabbed hold of her arm, pulling her closer to the painting. And then, suddenly, she was inside the painting. Inside the painting, Jane found herself in a dark, twisted world. The man in the portrait was there, and he was no longer the stern businessman she had seen before. Now, he was a monster, with eyes that glowed with an otherworldly light and a mouth that twisted into a grotesque smile. He was surrounded by other monsters, all of them twisted versions of her family ancestors. Jane realized with horror that the painting was a portal to some dark dimension, and that the man in the portrait had possessed her. As she tried to flee, the monsters pursued her, their claws scraping against the walls of the painting. It was a nightmare beyond anything she had ever imagined, and she knew that if she didn't escape, she would be trapped in that twisted world forever. Just when all hope seemed lost, Jane heard a voice calling out to her. It was her mother's voice, and it seemed to be coming from outside the painting. With a burst of energy, Jane lunged towards the voice, tearing through the fabric of the painting. She emerged into her own living room, panting and covered in sweat. Her mother was there, along with a group of priests. They had come to perform an exorcism on the possessed painting, and with their help, they were able to banish the evil spirit back to its own dimension. Jane was left shaken and traumatized by her experience, but she knew that she had been lucky to escape with her life. The possessed painting was destroyed, and she never wanted to see anything like it again. As the night draws to a close, we bid farewell to the terrors that haunted us and the spine-tingling tales that kept us on the edge of our seats. Remember, the darkness may linger, but the dawn always brings a new light. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and never stop exploring the mysteries of the unknown.